Hey everyone, welcome to the Mike Rosehart Show, live every Wednesday, usually around 7 p.m., but today around 8 p.m. He just got back from Florida and we just were rushing back with our flights and everything and I had a lot of stuff going on. And in honest, I forgot. And so here I am going live around 8 o'clock on this Wednesday. And today's video, while I wait for people to pop on and hopefully the video's coming in loud and clear, someone can let me know if it is actually public or not. I think it is. I think it's public. I think it's live. Someone let me know if it's live. I think I selected make public, but if I didn't, people are gonna let me know in about a minute or so. If people haven't jumped on, I'll know that I definitely did not make it live, but I think I did. So talking about potentially moving to Florida part-time. There's a bit of clickbait there. I actually seriously fell in love with Florida. I've been several times before. It's not my first time going to Florida, not my first time going to Orlando, not my first time I do all this stuff, right? But I was visiting the in-laws. We went on a trip. We were gone for 7, almost 8 days. And fantastic. Like the weather wasn't the best, but just like the atmosphere was amazing. I went around, looked at a lot of properties, got into like the vacation rental space, started looking at Airbnb data, started doing what I love, which is like looking at properties and analyzing deals. And I just started seeing the numbers and I'm like, wow, this is like Florida has some very attractive opportunities that London doesn't have. And the most important part is because Florida isn't necessarily anything special. And like, to be honest, I think there are a lot better places than the United States you can invest in real estate. But the thing that's nice about Florida is the weather. It's amazing. And it's opposite to the weather that we have in Canada. And so when it's really cold, I'm like, it would be really nice to go down to Florida, even for a few weeks at a time and have something to do down there. And so I think I found that. And I'm offering on a mansion near Orlando. So fingers crossed we get that. There'll be some really cool Harry Potter type castle videos at this like castle. So stay tuned if we do end up getting that property. I am bidding on over $1 million Canadian property as one of our first properties there. So it's exciting to be investing there and to, I don't know, just the energy is great around Disney. I'm just enjoying it. So I wanted to share that before I did the video, that I am thinking about making that my part-time residence. And to be honest, I'll probably rent a house down there rather than buy. And the mansion is not to live in, though I might stay in it on occasion. It is designed to be a cash flow king. And I'd only stay in it if it wasn't booked. Like if there was a time where no one wanted to book it, which is often actually, in the luxury Airbnb space right near Disney with those like big mansions that can sleep like 20, right? And have these amazing like gatherings, people who are like, you know, they have like 3, 4 kids, maybe 2 families come together and they're like, hey, for us to buy like 5 hotel rooms makes no sense, but to spend $1,000 a night on a castle, that's cool. We do that. Our mansion, we'll do that. And it's in like in a resort. It's got all the amenities and things. And so I didn't quite believe it until I started digging into the numbers, and I'm like, wow, it's actually a huge opportunity here. So I got really excited about it, and yeah, so I'll keep you guys updated and share how that goes. Of course, I haven't given up on Canada. I still love, it's my primary residence. I love Canada, but in the winter, Canada can be a bit dreary. It gets to like -10, -20. It's cold. I like to get away. So yeah, I think I'm gonna spend some of my winter as a snowbird in probably Florida, maybe a bit of like Arizona, one of those warmer places where the real estate prices make sense enough that if I'm gonna be somewhere for like more than 2 weeks, like after a couple of days, vacation starts setting in and I get bored. That's what happened in Orlando. And I'm hitting up realtors. I'm like, I wanna go out and look at properties. I wanna go out and look for deals. I wanna start investing. I just can't help myself. That's what I love to do. That is my passion. That is my hobby. So wherever I spend my winters, it has to be a place that I can invest to and do what I love. And it's kind of cool that like, just by spending a little bit of my time doing what I love, like I went with one of my mentees and we were talking like, what do you want to do today? It's like, oh, let's go look at houses. That's what we want to do for fun. Like I'd rather do that than go to Disney some days. Not every day, but some days. And so, hey everyone, Yuri, how you doing? William, good to see you on. Francisco says, born and raised in Florida. It's amazing. We love it. That's awesome. That's awesome. If anyone knows any good wholesalers in the area of Orlando or in Florida at all, Orlando ideally or in, you know, 100-kilometer kind of radius, hit me up. That'd be cool. If anyone knows any good real estate investors there, also DM me. I'd love to connect with people down there and just learn. Like I love I immersed myself in a new market, and I loved learning everything. Like in London, I know everything already. It's kind of boring, right? There's no new challenges, no new adventures, nothing new to learn. Like there are nuances, of course, and ways to tighten up the strategy, and like new trends emerge. Like Airbnb in London became a big thing a couple years ago, and I had to learn that new way of optimizing through real estate. But it was just fun. Like it's just, I don't know. I'm like a kid in a candy shop, right? In a new land. So that's always fun. And the idea is that like effectively, if I did a bit of investing, even part-time, and it actually wasn't that, Bill, good question. Where's my tan? I didn't spend that much time in the sun. There was a lot of rainy days when I was in Florida. I guess because it's winter season right now. The last 2 days of our trip, it was really nice and warm. We went swimming in the pool, and that was fun. Actually, I swam in the pool every day because we paid for the heated pool. But it was really sunny, I guess, the last 2 days. So I didn't get much of a tan. Definitely didn't get a sunburn. This trip, I don't know, I just didn't feel like being a beach bum. So maybe next time. I'll probably be, if this offer gets accepted on the property that we offered on, I'll be going back to do a home inspection, and then during closing, I'll be closing it. And it's a mansion that needs some renovation. So it's just been, there's just a lot of things have been deferred on this property. There are like some roof leaks, some drywall damage, and flooring damage, and lots of stuff doesn't work. That is an opportunity. I see a mansion, I see a luxury flip, right? So, or I see a distressed mansion, I see a luxury flip, but I see it as a luxury long-term hold. With the cash flow numbers I'm seeing, it's possible to even crank out $250,000 a year on one of these properties. So the numbers are very, very attractive if done right. And that's the key thing, is being able to stage it in a certain way. And I'll bring you guys along, and you can kind of watch on the journey, and maybe I'll do some videos while I'm there, more than just the weekly Wednesday video, especially if I have more time. Now in 2020, one of my goals was to stop doing any construction, stop doing any property management directly myself. So outsourcing to people who are experts in that area or that field, right? And then ensuring that it makes sense for me to, basically I want to separate myself from the day-to-day management. I want to be involved at a high level. I want to be managing, not doing. And so that means I have a lot more time now, where I would deal with a tenant concern. I won't deal with that anymore. I just refuse. Where there's like a leaking toilet and I can't get a hold of any plumbers, I'll just find another way. I'll have 4 plumbers set up, and I'll pay the most expensive plumber, so that I don't have to be the one to do that anymore, right? I'm not going to be changing toilets, not going to be doing any of that stuff anymore. I'm going to focus on what I love, which is basically hanging out, looking at properties, crafting, financing, and things like that, and talking to other investors. I like that stuff. That's not work to me. That's just me doing what I would do for no money. Like if I made no money from all this investing in Florida or wherever, I'd be okay with that. If I made enough to cover my flight and my trips there, and it was just like a free little trip, I'd be okay with that too. Now, obviously, I have certain targets I like to hit. It's like a game for me. And so if I don't make money, then I'll feel like I've failed myself. And so like, I don't want to do something that isn't going to be very profitable. So profit is like a game. But at the end of the day, at my stage, I was sitting there thinking about 2020 goals again, like looking over the big things on my vision journal. And I'm like, I need to make a change. And part of that, I think, means spending some time somewhere warm in the winter. And part of that means not doing outsourcing and doing what I love, doing the key part that adds the most value. I will do the stuff that's like interior design at $1,000 an hour, or like financing concerns at $1,000 an hour, or finding deals, again, at $1,000 an hour minimum. That's where I draw the line. If my time, basically if the thing is worth less than $1,000 an hour, I probably shouldn't be doing it. So that's where I kind of draw the line. I try to focus on those things that are high value, and that will ensure that I'm earning well into the 6 figures this year for not a lot of work, right? Not a lot of time invested. And so I want to be very cautious of my time. I'm 27 years old. I know that's young, I guess, relatively, for what I've accomplished and whatnot. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm getting older. In, less than 3 years, I'm going to be 30 years old. And I want to spend time with my daughter's going to be 4 in a little bit here. And my other daughter's going to be 1 before I know it. So it's like, I want to spend time with family. I want to spend time with friends more. And I want to hang out more. I don't want to work like I did before in the same ways that I did before. So yeah, that's what's up with me. Let's do some Q&A, guys. Let's share with me what's been up in your weeks. Everyone share with me what's been going on in your world. What are you dealing with? What are you struggling with? What can I help with? I'm here. Let's pick my brain. It's a free resource. Go ahead. Okay. Oh, there are some questions here. Sorry, I didn't see them. Just saw them pop up now. They've probably been here for a while. Fort Myers, Florida is nice. I'll have to check out Fort Myers. Fort Myers. Check that out. Haven't been there, but I will check it out. Did you make it to Epcot? No, I didn't. I wasn't really about Disney this time. We did the Disney Springs for a couple days. We did we actually didn't do Disney really at all. So this wasn't a Disney trip this time. It was more like spend time with the in-laws. Our in-laws are snowbirds. They have a trailer and a trailer park down there. Now, not very luxury or anything like that, but definitely something that, you know, it's nice. They get away, go somewhere warm. It was nice to go down there and have them, like, there's so much to do in Florida that's not Disney too. Like, while Disney is a great attraction, and I think that, like, you go to Disney every year and never see it all, right? It changes so much and everything. It's why I'm also bullish on investing in, like, the luxury real estate space there, because I think that there is a good opportunity there, recession proof, long term. Like, people are gonna always be going to Disney and always be traveling to Florida, and, like, it's a great place for snowbirds as well, from, like, you know, Canada and the UK, and, you know, just within the United States, people love to come down to Florida in the winter. So I'm bullish about it. I like it more than I like you know, some of the South American places, or like Costa Rica or Jamaica, because I think it's a little more politically stable in Florida. So there's some advantages that way. I wanted to say everyone speaks English, but, like, to be honest, the Spanish is, like, pretty fluent in Florida. There's a lot of people, like, I was going through the airport and, like, a bunch of people couldn't even speak English. They're, like, just parking, like, they're like, "Por qué?" Like, they didn't understand English at all, which is, like, a shock to me. Like, in Canada, you're forced to speak the language, right? But in the United States, these people are functioning and they don't speak English. They really don't understand. So that was eye-opening for me a little bit. I noticed that, you know, I was there in 2012 and 2014, but I really noticed it this time when I was trying to get around and just talk to some of the locals and had some issues that way. Overall, it was pretty good, but just depending where you were, there was a bit of that going on. So that was interesting. But yeah, I like Florida overall. I think it's a good market. I'm gonna check out Arizona too. A big fan of, like, the warm places where I can go and just have a nice little relaxing vacation, I guess. It's not really a vacation because I'll be doing some work there too, but I guess my vacations involve some level of work, and that's just who I am. I don't even call it work. I just call it, like, hanging out looking at properties. Okay, let me do these questions now. So this is kind of off topic, but this 4-unit went on the market 2 days ago, and I put an offer down, and apparently within 2 days, there were 7 offers. I ended up not getting my offer accepted. What does this say about the real estate market now? Well, it could be a number of things. 7 offers typically means that the market you're in is likely very hot. There is probably more demand than there is supply, hence 7 offers on a property, right? If there was a plentiful amount of fourplexes or income properties that serve the same purpose, each person would offer on one, right? But if there's 7 people offering on one, basically 2 things would be happening. One would be, like, maybe it's a really good deal. Even in a slow market, if you have something that's underpriced, maybe they price this fourplex $50,000 below what they know it's worth because they wanted to have multiple offers. They wanted to create a bidding situation. I don't know. So, like, market, you know, context is important as well, and, like, deal context is important. But I would say on average, probably chances are it's, you know, just a hot market. London's like that right now too, big time. So it's one of those things where, yeah, like, it's one of those things where it's just, that's the state of the market right now. It's the state of the union. How do you navigate those waters? You can buy off market. You could be very aggressive in your offering strategy. It sounds like you said you put an offer in, and then, like, 2 days later there were 7 offers. If I haven't, like, my offers have irrevocable, like, 6 to 8, sometimes 10, 12 hours. So when I submit an offer, they have to respond within 8 to 12 hours. A lot of agents will play games like 24 hours are irrevocable, 48 hours irrevocable. They'll take your offer and they'll shop it around and they'll get more offers. You don't want to let your offer be the shop offer. So don't let that happen, right? You're in control. You put a short irrevocable. They have to respond to you that night. You offer at 3 p.m., you expect a response by 11:59 p.m. That's what's acceptable. You call the agent, you explain that. It's an irrevocable at this date. Unless the seller's out of the country, there's some reason why they can't, you know, adhere to it. Most of the time, they'll accept that. And so what I say is get the deal done right away. If you want the property and you know it's underpriced $50,000 and you know it will probably go into multiple offer situation, which in the hot market will happen if it's priced right, you go in there with a firm offer maybe. And again, like, talk to your realtor, get your own legal advice. But one of the strategies I've used is go in, no financing, no home inspection, nothing, firm offer, done, nice $20,000 deposit, nice and large deposit. I go in there strong, and I've beaten out offers that were $20,000 or $30,000 higher than mine, sometimes 10% higher purchase price. And they went with my offer because there are other offers conditional. Conditional offers worth nothing. Like you can offer $1 million for a $200,000 property conditional and just back out, right? So a conditional offer means nothing. Like if someone offers me like a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, right? So the idea is that like if you have something that's guaranteed now, take it, right? You'd rather make $1 now than maybe make $1.10 later. So that's the idea behind a firm offer. That is a dangerous thing to do if you aren't an expert. So if you haven't done a lot of home inspections before yourself, if you don't understand construction very well, you could be getting into an issue with this property, right? If you don't have your financing figured out or you aren't confident that you can get it done, or maybe I can, don't follow that advice, obviously, right? But if you want the property enough and you're willing to go firm, which I've gone firm like 30, 40 times, my last layer of defense is a JV partnership. Like if all else fails, I'll just JV with someone. And that's because I have a good network of investors who know I have a good track record. If I bring them a deal, it's solid, and so they'll just take it. That's my last line of defense. And so I'd recommend, kind of setting up layers of, like a waterfall system where like, if this fails, then I have this lender. If this lender fails, then I have this lender. If this fails, then like I have, private lenders who will lend me at like 10% and I can get the deal done. I can refinance the money out. And then if that doesn't work, I have a backup, dude that I know who's like a private lender who will just lend me money. And then if that doesn't work, you have like your rich uncle or your parents. And if that doesn't work, then maybe you bring it to a JV partner or whatever. You can have any structure you want. Maybe a JV partner is the first thing you go to, and then you got backups, right? But that was the way I always did it. I took down the deal and then I found someone for the deal, or I found a way to close the deal after. That's a weird way to do it. I always found my JV partners after I had the deal. I didn't feel comfortable talking to a partner until I had a deal in place. That's just me. I don't want to talk hypotheticals with someone. I don't go to an investor until I have a deal in hand. Then I can say, hey, I got this under contract. It's my deal. I'm in control. I'm in the driver's seat. These are the terms, right? So that's what you can do. You can negotiate back and forth with them, et cetera, so forth, and come up with your JV. Or you go to your lender and say, hey, here's a real deal. No lenders want to talk hypotheticals. They want to see a real deal. That's how you develop a relationship. So that's the way I've always done real estate after I got my first 4 properties. I guess my first 4 properties, I was like super apprehensive. But then when I started exploding and buying a lot, that's the strategy I sort of took. I sort of leaped before I knew exactly where I would land. And that forced me to grow. And that's how I built a $20 million real estate portfolio in, under 2 years, right? Was because I was leaping before I knew exactly where I was going to land. Now, mind you, I was looking and I knew like there was 10 places I could land. And so I wasn't so worried about, missing the first step because there was like a bunch of other steps there. And I'm the kind of person, this strategy works really well, by the way, if you're a grinder like I am. I'm the kind of person who won't sleep until I found an A and a B solution. If you're the kind of person who's gonna like game and like relax and watch movies and just go hang out and be like, oh, my property's closing in 3 weeks, like you're gonna get screwed. And if you don't have a safety net there, you're done, right? You're toast. So don't follow this strategy if you're not like a hustler. Like you gotta go out there and be talking to like 10 investors a day. You gotta be applying to like 5 financiers a day. You gotta be having to-do lists constantly on your computer. Like there's always a to-do list. And if you don't make that to-do list and check things off as you go, do it on your computer. I'm an old-fashioned paper and pen guy, but if you don't have that list, things are gonna be slipped and forgotten. You're gonna forget to send that one paper to the financier, and that's gonna screw you over. Your deal's gonna die. Or you're gonna rely on that financier who said yes, but they didn't really mean yes. They meant, we're pretty sure. The mortgage broker says yes, but they mean pretty sure. Even if you have a commitment letter, sometimes I've seen lenders pull out, right? So always have a second commitment letter lined up. Those types of things, you gotta work twice as hard to get 2 commitment letters or 3 commitment letters, right? You gotta work really hard to have a JV partner lined up while you've got your own financing going, while you have a private money lender guy going at the same time. Now that's gonna require like 100 hours of work instead of 10 hours of work. So most people aren't gonna do that, but that's gonna guarantee your chance of success, right? So anyway, my rant is done. I'm getting off my pedestal now. Next question. Kind of demoralizing for an investor trying to get your first building. Yeah, so definitely. Being in a hot market is it's hard when you're putting an offer after offer and you're not getting the deals. What is that saying though? Either that's saying you're not bidding enough for the properties, or your realtor's bad, so they don't have good rapport with the other agents, and so that's why they're not getting the deal done. Often I've offered the same as, actually I've offered less than other agents in town, even good agents that you probably know and follow on social media. I've beaten those agents out because my agent knew their agent. And guess what? Collusion actually happens in real estate all the time. And my agent's like, yo, let's get this done. My buyer is solid, 100% cash, done. We're gonna be 5,000 less than the other guy, but just go with us. We're buddy, we'll get this done. We've done 10 deals together. And the deals happen that way. It's done. It doesn't matter if they bid $5,000 more. I got the deal because I had the rapport, right? So that kind of stuff happens all the time in real estate. So get a good agent. Most agents are bad. And even good agents get busy and then they become bad. So if they have a lot of clients, they can't service them all. That's something just to think about. I have a brokerage. I'm not going to say like we're the best, but like my guy who helps with a lot of my offer stuff, he's my broker, my full-time agent partner. He's fantastic. The guy's going to grind for you. That's a good example in London. You got to find someone like that, someone willing to hustle and get it done for you. So that's important. The other thing is maybe just your offers aren't strong. Like, are you looking at how you're writing your offers? There's certain things you can put into your offer that will give it strength. So things like just a whole bunch of terms and things like that. So anyway, I'm going to keep going with the next question. Power session. Can you do a video one day on RRSP versus TFSA melt using special purpose mortgages? Yes. So at a high level, the RRSP to TFSA melt is the idea that you have a whole bunch of money in your RRSP and you have a whole bunch of money to a registered retirement savings plan and a whole bunch of money in your tax-free savings account. And the idea is you want to get the money out of your RRSP into your tax-free savings account, but you can't. You've put pre-tax income into the RRSP and after-tax income into the tax-free savings account. Now you can use both of those registered retirement accounts to lend to other people to buy real estate, as long as they're not family. So you could do that with like, you could say to your buddy like Mike, say, hey Mike, I got 200,000 in my RRSP. I want to invest in real estate. I want to get a 10, 12% return, whatever. Are you cool with those terms? I'll fund your next deal. Done. I'll put it on as a first mortgage or second mortgage, whatever, and pay that out, right? Now they've got their RRSP money. They go through a company like Olympia Trust. There's a whole bunch of better ones than that. I'm just giving you an example. But a company like that, they take your money, they access your RRSP for you, they lend it out against real estate. So now you have your money in your retirement accounts working at a 12% return, tax sheltered, right? So money's going back into your RRSP. With basically what you're doing with a melt is, and this is a very crude version of the melt, but the idea is, and you can say that someone should, after this video is done, put in the comments a timestamp around 22 minutes roughly, where I go, I guess 21 minutes and a half, where I go over the TFSA to RRSP melt, so I don't have to make that video, because I'm just making it right now basically. But the idea is, unedited, unfiltered, the idea is that you take the RRSP and you take your TFSA. Let's say you get your tax-free savings account, you probably have $70,000 in it. If you've been maxing it out, that's roughly what you'd have. If you had really bad growth, you just kind of got like 5% growth over the last decade. So your tax-free savings account, since it's been open in 2009, be about 11 years they've been alive in Canada. So your tax-free savings account's got $70,000 in it, let's say. You want to get the money that's in your RRSP. You've been saving your whole life pre-tax, right? So you've been putting in money. Every year you put in 18% of your income into your RRSP. That's the most you can put in every year, and it accumulates over time. So if you didn't for a few years, you can throw that money in anytime you want. So you could just do a lump sum into your RRSP, but you get a tax credit back. So right now in my tax bracket, if I put $20,000 into my RRSP, I get a check for $10,000 from the government. I'm gonna say that again. If I put $20,000 into my RRSP, I'm at 50% tax bracket, I get a check back for 10 grand from the government. I gotta put $100,000 in my RRSP right now, I get a check for 50 grand from the government. They're giving me my tax money back. They're turning it into pre-taxed income. So you get a rebate. Most people are like, oh, I can't withdraw from my RRSP because like I'll get taxed really badly. And it's like, that's terrible, it's not fair. But you got a credit from the government. You probably blew your credit. You didn't realize you actually blew your tax credit, but truth be told, you got a tax credit. And now you get to have a time value of that tax credit for the next 30 or 40 years. Plus, when you retire, you're likely in a lower tax bracket than your highest earning income years, which is the time you should be contributing to your RRSP. And so the idea is, in your highest earning years, when you're earning the most money, that's when you shove money into your RRSP. You get a tax credit at your top marginal bracket, and you withdraw from your RRSP later at a lower marginal bracket. Now, now that you understand those facts, the way that the RRSP TFSA melt works is you use special purpose type mortgages, basically what I'm saying is that, how do I make this simpler? On a property, you can have a first, a second, a third, etc. mortgage. In first secured position, second secured position, and it's exactly as it sounds. The first secured position on the mortgage, they have first right to take title if you don't pay the mortgage. The second person on title, they have a lesser basically take on title. The first person has to be made whole before they get a dime. So if it's a $100,000 property and the first mortgage is $80,000 and there's a second mortgage on it for 10 grand, we'll call it 90,000 total. 80 plus another 10 is 90. Now the property's worth 100, let's say. In a worst case scenario, if the property sells for 89, guess what? The guy who has the first mortgage for 80,000, he gets made whole for his whole 80,000 plus his fees. And the second mortgage might not get made whole. They might get only 9,000 of the 10,000 they lent because they're in the second secured position. That depends on what loan to value you're comfortable lending with. In that example, that was a 90% loan to value. That's a little bit higher than I'd be comfortable with. I like 80% loan to value or 75% to feel really, really safe. So anyway, first, what you do with the crude version is you take your registered retirement savings plan, your RSP money, you lend it out as a first mortgage. And you do this, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that you lend it out like 3% or something like that. And you fund a deal. You say the deal's $250,000 they need for the deal. You put $180,000 from your RRSP. You take the $70,000 I told you about, sit in your tax-free savings account, and you lend it out as a second mortgage. So you fund the whole $250,000 for the investor as $180,000 from your RRSP in a first mortgage, and $70,000 from your tax-free savings account in the form of a second mortgage. And so now you have a first and second mortgage on the property. Maybe you're at 80 or 90% loan to value, whatever. But on the first mortgage, you charge them 3% interest on the bulk of the money. And now on the second mortgage in your tax-free savings account, guess what? You charge them 29% interest. Now your money's growing at 29% compounded, CAGR. So your tax-free savings account, it starts doubling every 2.5 years. And if you do this strategy long enough, you're basically withdrawing money from your RRSP, and you're getting a very low return on it, right? And you're feeding, like you're effectively saying to your investor, hey, I'll charge you 12% for this mortgage. But mortgage is going to be broken down like this. You're going to pay on $180,000 of it, 3% interest. And on the remaining $70,000, you're going to pay 29% interest. You're really charging them 12% effective interest. But the idea, and I'm just making these numbers up, but like it's close. The idea is that you're funneling most of the mortgage interest that you're making, that your RRSP is really making you that money, but you're charging it to your TFSA. And so you're now legally growing your tax-free savings account really quickly. I've seen people do this at 30% rate. You'll double your tax-free savings account every 2.5 years. If you could apply this strategy for 25 years, you'll have millions of dollars in your tax-free savings account, and you'll eventually bleed down your RRSP because you draw down a small amount, you draw down some principal and some interest every single year from your RRSP. And the idea is that you bleed down your RRSP till it's all gone, and your TFSA is huge. And you have millions of dollars in your tax-free savings account that you can now lend out at whatever you want, and it's all tax-free for life, whereas the RRSP is not tax-free. Every dollar you make in your RRSP, when you withdraw it, you have to pay tax at your marginal tax rate at that time. Now, hopefully it's lower than 50%. Hopefully it's like, you're working and you're in retirement, maybe your income is half what it was before. So now you can withdraw that money from your RRSP at like 25% tax rate, right? So you're effectively gaining the time value of that money the whole time, plus a 25% difference in tax rate, right? So that's the idea with the RRSP to TFSA melt. And so from 21 minutes to 27.5 minutes, there you have it, the RRSP to TFSA melt in the very crudest of versions. But the idea is that you basically take the money from your RRSP and you melt it, you take it out for yourself, and you eventually feed it into your tax-free savings account. So as you get the money out, you put more every year into your TFSA. But mainly the idea is that you're getting most of that interest payment. You're charging an investor on the $250,000, 12%, but like 90% of that interest is going into your TFSA and like 10% is going into RRSP. And it's completely legal. It's totally able, you can totally do it whenever you want, but the structure has to work with a first and second mortgage or a first and third mortgage, and it has to be proportional. So you're taking the most risk with your TFSA effectively, but really you're funding the whole deal with all your own money, so you're not really taking that much risk. It makes sense to the government. They would expect on a second or third mortgage, you could charge 29% interest. That's a fair amount to charge with that risk level. And so yeah, that's basically what you're doing. You're saying, hey, I'm getting all my money into my TFSA, and now I have all my money in there, and it's tax-free for the rest of my life. I take my $2 million that I've accumulated in here using this strategy, and you can use this strategy even if you don't have an RRSP. Just take your tax-free savings account and lend it out as a second mortgage at like 15 to like 30% interest rate, and by golly, in a few years, you're going to have your TFSA doubling. And when it starts to double, it goes from 70 to 140 to, all of a sudden, next thing you're 280, all of a sudden you're at 500,000, next thing you're at $1 million, next thing you're at 2 million. Every 2 to 3 years it's doubling because it's growing very fast. So the time value of that money is where it compounds, and it's the eighth wonder of the world. Next thing you know, you're rich and you got all that money in a tax-free savings account, and the government can't touch any of the growth in that, so you can basically live tax-free for the rest of your life. You can have a $50,000 dividend coming in every year from eligible open accounts, plus your TFSA, and you'd be retired with 6 figures of passive income. I have wrote out in my notebook a video I want to do on how to make over $100,000 a year in retirement. If you were smart and you planned ahead, you could retire theoretically and draw 6 figures from TFSA plus $50,000 a year in dividends, plus your spouse could draw more too, all in retirement, all in tax-free in Canada. So there's some huge benefits of being in Canada. It's one of the reasons I will never officially move to the United States, because Canada has some huge perks. We have free healthcare, for one. We have a ton of free social programs. Our system is actually better. Our pension plans are better. There's just a number of reasons why Canada is great. And if you're smart and you're rich, you can avoid tax in Canada. So the high tax rates everyone talks about, they're not so bad if you know how to plan smartly. So anyway, that's my whole spiel on that. We're at 30 minutes now. So someone at the end of this video, once this like little comment section is done, go back into the video and comment on the video and give a snippet there. And maybe what we'll do is, I probably won't do this, but like I could probably take a clip out of this video and post just that video by itself, but probably not. I probably never get around to that. I say I'll do it, but I just won't find the time because I don't have the passion to go take the video and cut it up. But yeah, so there you have it. TFSA to RRSP notes.
Smartly a word?
It's a good question. Oh, someone Google that for me. Jonas is just like hiding here the whole time, thinking he's smart. Someone look that up for me. Most single family in Hamilton that can be converted sells for $750, refi cost $625, reno cost $110. Good idea leaving that much money in the property. Should you do construction yourself to save dollars? Bill, it depends. It depends on a lot of factors, I think. So do you do the construction yourself? What is your time worth? Do you enjoy doing construction? Those are the two things I would ask. And the answers to those two questions should lead you to the answer. Okay, the second thing to think about is when you're thinking about whether or not it makes sense to leave equity in a property, I would say it depends on your risk profile, but my answer is largely no. I think that your ROE or return on equity is an important metric to look at. If you own a property in cash, your ROE is terrible. If you own a property that's 50% debt and 50% is equity in the property at current market value, guess what? Your ROI is going to be bad. Your ROE is going to be bad. So I would say from a return on investment perspective, it makes more sense to refinance the capital out and then take that capital and buy more properties. I'd rather have 5 properties at 20% down each than 1 property paid off in cash. The numbers just, they support that argument all day long. So financially speaking, as long as you have some risk tolerance at all, and even if you, honestly, I think diversification of having more real estate assets is safer than having all your eggs in one basket. So even the diversification risk management perspective argument, I think loses. In my opinion, almost always it makes sense to take the equity in your property and reinvest it. And if you can't cash flow after you pull that money out, sell the property. That's my thoughts. Okay, I gotta really power through all these questions. Did you find out, Jonas, if smartly is a word?
No, I didn't Google that.
You should probably Google it before you call it out on a live stream.
I was asking.
Oh, okay.
Ask you a question.
Did you ever watch the original Magnum PI? If so, you need a Higgins to watch over your property. That would be Epoch. I don't know what Higgins. I'm lost on that. Magnum PI is like I maybe watched that like once. Like my in-laws, I think they watched it like once with me. So it's lost on me. I'm a Canadian, moved to Mexico 10 years ago. It's great. Check out Yucatan. It's full of Canadians here. Cool. Check that out. I think for the family, being in Mexico, I'm not too sure.
Smartly is a word.
Oh, look at that. Did that question already? Smartly is a word. Except in Quebec, them Frenchies hate outsiders. Mike, 3rd place in Detroit is up for rent. Only offer so far is 6 lacrosse playing students, but they won't rent a couple months. A parent will co-sign. Any thoughts? There's nothing wrong with renting to students. Check their GPAs, see if they're the studious type, get their parents to co-sign, of course. In Detroit, you probably have more rules around like deposits and things like that. So I think you can evict them a lot easier in the United States. So there's some definite advantages, I would say, to that. You can get more rent from students, and so that's huge. Vacancy is a killer. Even if they did some damage to it, the damage can't be as high as vacancy. Like if you went 6 months with no one in the property, that's a lot worse than someone living in the property and trashing it in most cases. Okay. What's the biggest thing you look for in duplex conversions? Do you draw your own blueprints to submit to the city for approval? Bill, up until now, I have on all projects except for one drawn my own. Sometimes I do a good job, sometimes less of a good job. But yeah, I do my own designs, my own drawings. You can on duplexes. You don't need a BCIN stamp. You don't need an engineer to stamp them. For triplex and above, you do. But you just have to know the Ontario Building Code. The time it takes to learn that, though, the knowledge that I have, probably just cheaper to hire someone to do it, to be honest. What do I look for? A lot of factors. Can it be duplex legally? Does it meet current fire codes? Does it meet current Ontario building codes? How expensive would it be for me, for instance, to put in an egress window? If the grade is good outside in the basement, that'd be easy to do. If I have to put in like a huge drain system, maybe not so much. Does it have a separate entrance that's dedicated? Can I get that or achieve that easily? If it can't be done, then anything can be done, but can it be done cheaply? I can do anything to, I can duplex any property, but the question is, can it be done cheaply enough that you'd make money? So you can spend 100 grand duplexing a property and maybe only make 50 grand. You'd lose 50 grand duplexing the property. Makes no sense. But there are situations where it adds 100,000 in value and I can do it for 20 or 30 grand. Boom, there's a huge upside there. I'm all about that. So I look for opportunities for arbitrage. I look for that wedge, that value add. That's what a good duplex conversion is all about. Except in Quebec. That's funny. The Frenchies, you know, that's not too bad. They're not too bad for, most of them spoke English when I was there. Most single family in Hamilton, we read that. Andrew, how you doing? Hey, how's it going? Pros and cons of getting all materials, just paying contractors per hour versus per job. What do you do? So Harriet, it's a mixed bag. In most cases, per hour you will lose because over the long term, because guys get complacent. Guys run into issues, guys and girls, whatever, contractors, they run into issues, and on hourly, you suffer. Well, they forgot to get material, they gotta go back and get it. They make a mistake, you gotta pay for that. So all of those things compound and you can lose a lot of money hourly. Most construction companies go bankrupt because they pay their guys hourly. That's why it costs $9 to change a light bulb, right? You hear that all the time. Because of all the overhead and all the expenses, right? And just inefficiencies. People only efficient 60% of the time. What's better is job price, because then they're motivated to complete the work quickly. The downside with job price is they could rush it and do a terrible job. So you have to really watch your QC, or your quality control. Yeah, so what do I prefer? I prefer job price, a lot less micromanagement. This is the price, these are the terms, you meet these set of qualities, you get paid. Simple as that. On hourly, guys can screw around, things can happen, you gotta watch them, babysit them. With hourly guys, you can get a really good deal, especially in the beginning. Like you get them to job price something and it's like really expensive, but they'll do it hourly for like half, because they don't, when they job price it, they're adding in a whole bunch for like, what if this happens, or contingencies and stuff like that, or they just go high so they don't get burned, right? And so on hourly, you can actually win sometimes, but it just depends. Depends on the task, on the job, depends what it is. So many factors at play. Good question. Hey, no problem. Happy to help. Are you afraid to overpay for properties? I'm in a hot market, as you said, and a lot of investors here are emotional investors. Am I wrong for listening to the numbers instead of the emotions? I think it's gray is the thing, right? I have used emotion and passion to guide some of my best projects. I think emotion is important, because when you sell the property, you're selling to emotion in most cases. Even if the investor's looking at the numbers, you're still playing up to the emotion. So it's important to understand the emotional aspect of investing. Like there is an emotional aspect that's different from buying like your home, right? Is buying investment property. And there are emotions attached to that and certain things you want to trigger. Super passive and easy is like a nice emotional trigger for an investor that will often, they'll take much less cash flow if it's super easy, super clean, they're comfortable with the investment, that sort of thing. So if you can do things to comfort the investor, which often means like a good tenant profile, means a nicely maintained building, these types of things, they give comfort. And investors will take much less cash flow for the comfort of that provides, right? And so there's more strategies I won't get into now where you can target investors emotionally as well. So emotion is important. I use emotion for passion. So for instance, I'm not interested in a sixplex right now with like a bunch of scumbag tenants. Doesn't matter how good of a deal it is. Right now, in my stage right now, there's time a year ago where I would have bought it. I have no interest at all in like trying to fight tenants and go through all of that to unlock the value. Just not interested. That's an emotional thing. Like I'm passionate about Orlando right now because I want to be in Orlando. It's snowing right now outside this window, and I wish I was back in Orlando where I was looking outside poolside and ready to jump in the pool. Now I'll go in the hot tub tonight, so that'll be nice probably, where I get to sit out in the snow. So I don't mind the contrast, but at the same time, my point is that like if you're emotionally wound up about something in an investment property, like you're passionate about duplex conversions and you want to do your first one, you will have a higher result. You will do better in those situations. And so there is a place for emotion in investing. And I think if you have passion for what you're doing, you'll do a better job at it. If you're just doing it for the money, you're not really passionate about it, you're not really passionate about placing tenants or passionate about construction, you won't do as well. I've been, even though I hated construction at times in my life, I'm passionate, hella passionate about the projects that I'm involved in. When something doesn't go exactly right, like, I'll give you an example. There was a wall that was misplaced by like 2 inches. And that, like, my whole day was ruined because of that stupid thing. Like, that's how passionate I get about my projects, that I'm laying in bed thinking about the best use of the space. If you're not that passionate about the real estate, I don't think you'll do as well. I will always outperform the counterpart who isn't passionate. I will always outperform because I have the passion for it. I'm laying in bed at night thinking about a better way to do that. Some guy walks in, oh, the wall's over 6 inches, who cares? It's a damn rental. That guy isn't gonna do as well as me because maybe he's like no emotion, he's a robot. And I think in some situations, the emotion can be good. Other times I've been very analytical and I'm like, hey, this is the price I'm willing to pay for the property. I'm really passionate about it, but I'll wait for the next one. And so there is a time to be analytical too. Don't be so emotional that you're jumping into deals that make no sense. You gotta run the numbers. You gotta stand by your numbers first and then fight with your passion. So it's like numbers and passion together to negotiate to make the perfect deal. So sometimes I will bend and I'll take a deal that I know makes me only 40,000 profit. And maybe I really want to take that deal down. And I'd rather take that deal down and make 40,000 than go to a deal I don't enjoy at all and make 100. Sometimes it's okay to make less money, but enjoy what you're doing. And so that's something to think about when you're investing. What kind of portfolio do you want? Do you want a bunch of scumbag C-level tenants? You can get double the return. But you gotta deal with crazy people jumping on your social media. You gotta deal with like these mentally unstable people that have real serious issues and they're bringing those issues on you, right? So you gotta deal with that. Maybe they deal with that with your manager. You might have to deal with like pest control issues. All this kind of stuff you have to deal with those types of properties. And you might make less money with an A-level rental where you will never have that issue. Like in my richest rentals, I've never had bed bugs. I've never had cockroaches. I've never had ants, nothing. If they got bed bugs from a traveling or something, right? I'm sure that they would get rid of it and they wouldn't even tell me because they're embarrassed and they're rich. They can afford to fix the problems. An A-level tenant has the money to pay their rent. They have the money to keep the place up. If they make a knock on the wall, their kids smash the wall, they paint it because they're embarrassed and they have the money to fix it. The poor tenant's like, whatever. My kid already banged 2 walls. I'll bang the next wall, right? Like there isn't, and even if they mean well, even if they want to fix it, they can't afford to. And so it's just the nature of like, what kind of tenant profile do you want to have? Both are fine. I've done it all. You can have the D-class rentals. You can have the A-class rentals. I prefer the A-class rentals. Do whatever you have passion for. If you have passion for helping out those who are less fortunate, and I did for a long time. I used to spend hours at my properties. I spent 3 hours talking to one girl, showing her how to balance her budget on minimum wage. And for a long time, I was passionate about housing people in that way. I'm not in the same way anymore. I don't enjoy interacting with tenants anymore in that same way that I did before. That's not, if you have passion for it, do it. Honestly, you can make a lot of money in those rentals. Your ROI is way higher. And that's because you spend a lot of time babysitting. Anyway, so my rant is done on that. That was a long rant. But use emotion, use analytics, very important. Been doing FIRE for the past 2 years since graduating. Safe to say I'm pretty frugal and don't want to overpay. Okay, so this is where you've taken it too far, Port City Trading Desk. I would say 2 years trying to find a deal and offering on properties is probably too long. I think time in the market will beat trying to time the market. So if you had bought 2 years ago, when you first started, I guarantee you'd make more money, even if you bought a bad property, than today. Even if your property is worth the exact same 2 years later, which it wouldn't be, it's probably worth more now than what it was 2 years ago. But you have that cash flow and that mortgage pay down for 2 years. So your money is never good just sitting, right? And if you're gonna use the bank's money on it with a mortgage, I mean, the sooner you can start using their money, the better, because you're getting their money at 3% and it's growing for you at 10. So you're getting a 7% spread every year. Even if the market goes down, better to have bought and had that, that maybe not appreciation because the market went down, but maybe that mortgage pay down or that cash flow over the whole time. And so I think time is better than waiting on the sidelines. So I will always strike. I'd rather have 2 deals than no deals, right? 2 like crappy kind of deals than no deals. So it's always better to get something going, right? Go and look at 20 properties, 30 properties, 40 properties, and pick the best one. Like don't go buy your first property you see. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But I do think it makes sense to run your numbers, make sure you're buying a decent property. But once you've found that decent property in the market, pull the trigger. Like, don't sit on the sidelines trying to time the market. That's silly. You're going to lose out on too much potential money you could have made. The opportunity cost is too large, in my opinion. Okay, good questions. Can you allow URLs? I posted a link to MLS. I don't know how to allow, I didn't disallow them, so I don't know if there's a setting maybe Kyle put on a while ago. I'd have to look into that. I don't know how that works. If there's a way I could allow it, I would. There's no way on this stream that I know how to do that. I could try, let me see. Live chat says all messages are visible. Super chat messages are also available. I don't know. It says that I can share all messages, but maybe there's a way that the links are turned off in the back end. I don't know. Maybe it's like this new thing. YouTube has this new like child safety thing where people can't post links because like I don't restrict my videos to 18 plus. I allow anyone, if you're 17 or 16 watching this, good for you. Like you should be learning about this now. So I don't want to restrict my videos to 18 plus. Maybe that's why links are blocked now because people are like posting crazy stuff. I don't know. I don't even keep up on that stuff. I'm not a pro YouTuber. I make a couple $100 here or there on YouTube. It's not a big way for me to make money. I do it because I want to give back. It's my community service. So I'm not an expert. Not going to pretend to be. But yeah, so sorry, can't post your link. Wish you could. 67 Saxville Street. Evaluate it. It just sold. What motivates wholesalers to give one person a deal over another? So I'd have to go see it, and I don't have another way of looking at that. I don't have a laptop that's on right now to view that deal, but someone can throw in some details, and I can wrap this stream up and say goodnight to my daughter. But yeah, I can take a look at that deal and tell you what I think. So Harriet, what motivates wholesalers to give one person a deal over another? The biggest thing I would say is relationship. Over all else, relationship. People are human. And if they like you and they want to deal with you and they've dealt with you before, they will go to you first. So I have a couple investors that I really like working with. And for instance, on my Florida venture, I have like 2 investors in mind that I'm thinking about that make really good sense. And I have like 20 or 30 investors I could call, but to be honest, I don't want to work with 20 or 30 investors. I want to work with the 2 I like the most. And so people are like, well, how do I get JVs with you, Mike? Good question. It's the same answer. How much do I like the person? For my personal standards, it's how easygoing are they? If someone's going to be like questioning, I have a lot of investors that question the numbers, like send me more spreadsheets, send me more stuff, send me this, send me that, send me, and just a lot of waste of time, like getting analysis paralysis. I don't like to work with those investors. That's just me personally, right? So I would think with a wholesaler, and like I haven't done much wholesaling really, to be honest. I've done some private deal assignment and stuff. Mostly just hooking friends up for $0. I didn't even charge them a wholesale fee, or like I just took the deal down with a JV partner. But I do think that how do you get a wholesaler motivated? Be a good buyer. Don't ask them 1,000 questions. Don't expect them to have all the answers. This is what the deal is. It's $80,000 under market value. Act quickly and hand them a check. That's what the wholesaler wants. So you go do the analysis yourself. You go, find out what it sold for before, find out who owns it, drive by it, whatever. Get through the property, get pictures, and then just as soon as you finish walking through, make a decision quick. Wholesalers don't want a guy who's thinking about it for 24 hours. Oh, I'll get back to you tomorrow. It's gone. If you were going to get back to them in a day or two, the deal's gone. So act quickly, be a good guy or girl, be someone they want to be around. Call them up, take them out for coffee, take them out for lunch, build a relationship. That's important. Like that stuff goes a long way, a lot further than you might think. The people that I like most, I give the deals to, like my mentees are my close inner circle, and they get the deals well before I'd ever assign them, right? They get the opportunity to JV well before anyone else because I like working with them. I want to JV with them. It's fun to JV with them. I like the investor. I like talking to the investor. They're easygoing. When I bring them a property deal, they take it. They don't question me. If you're questioning me, why are we even investing together, right? And I say that like a lot of investors question for good reason, right? They want to know all the numbers. They want to be like sure that they're making a good investment, right? Et cetera, and so forth. But from an investor's standpoint, looking for a JV partner or a wholesaler looking to hand out a deal, they want the easiest way to make the most money. And maybe not even the easiest way, but like the most fun way to do it too. So it might be more work to give it to their friend because their friend's going to ask them more questions, but they don't mind talking to their friend. And so they're happy to share more details about the deal. So how do you do it? Befriend some wholesalers in your local market. And what does that take? That takes money and time. How do I get the most deal? Like people asked me, a year ago, we bought like 50 off-market 1% rural properties. People, I can't find one in London. How did you find 50, Mike? You know how I found 50? I knew all the wholesalers in town. I knew most of the good agents in town. And I spent more time and more money focused on deals than they did. And that's why I found more deals, because I spent more time, more focused, better time, and I spent more money. Spend money on advertising, go knock doors, go build relationships. That stuff matters. And so I wish it was easy. I wish I could say, you know, the wholesalers are just going to choose you over someone else because, you know, you have a nice smile. And like, truthfully, it's not that. It is the hard stuff. It's the grit. That's how you get the deals done. And there'll be one-offs where you get lucky, whatever, but that's the truth. But great question. Great question. Thank you so much. I wish more people knew about the RRSP TFSA melt. This one strategy can literally save millions of dollars in tax in early retirement, and it's completely legal. Yes, 100% true. Check that out at like the 20 to 30 minute mark roughly for how that strategy works. And the best part is you don't need a book or anything because you can just watch the video again and again, and eventually you'll get it. Or you can just do some Googling. I'm sure someone's written about it somewhere. Some accountant I thought of the idea sort of, I was like, what if you could just do like 2 mortgages and you could sort of get the money into your TFSA super quick? And like, oh, it's called like a RRSP, a TFSA melt basically. And I'm like, oh, cool. And so I sort of figured out that through just conversation, networking. But I'm sure there's a video out there. I'm sure there's something out there that you can learn about that. Everything that's been thought of has been written on the internet somewhere. So it's all out there. It's all free. You don't need to buy any courses. It's all out there for free. How much is the reasonable price to rewire the whole bungalow, 1,200 square foot with a basement suite with a new 200 amp service with meter base? Yuri, I don't know, Yuri. It depends on a lot of factors. A lot of factors. A panel swap can be anywhere from $700 to $2,000, right? It's depending on a lot of factors. You could have, I've even seen electricians charge $10,000 for that kind of stuff. And that's like, they're soaking you, but that stuff's possible. So what's reasonable? I think 50 bucks an hour for an electrician is pretty reasonable if they're good and they're fast. So if it's a day job to change a panel out and then to rewire a house, probably another like at least 6 days with an apprentice. So I don't know. I guess a good deal would be a few grand. A bad deal would be like $10,000, but anywhere in that range is probably reasonable. The fast, good guys, they charge more, but they're faster. And so sometimes they're worth double. Like I've had electricians for 30 bucks an hour that aren't worth $30 an hour. Like the guy for 50 an hour is twice as fast. And so I'm getting a better deal on the $50 an hour guy than I am on the $30 an hour guy. So it just depends on who you got and what they're capable of. Cheryl, do I have this in book form? I'm a slow learner. I don't have any books. I would like to write a book. When I build my guest house, I'm going to lock myself out in the guest house and I'm just going to write. And I'm going to write a couple books. Maybe there'll be like free ebooks. Maybe I'll charge something. Just to, you know what's nice about charging something? When someone's willing to pay for something you've created, it means it's valuable to them. So there's something like, I don't know if it's an ego thing. It's just like, if I go spend a summer writing a book and people are willing to pay for that, that means that I actually invested my time well. It's not even about the money for me. Like I know it wouldn't be a good return on my time at all, but it'd be kind of cool to do. And I think it would help the world a little bit. And if people would buy it, it would, yeah, that would mean something to me. So it's one of my bucket list items is to write a book. Will it happen this year? I don't know. And maybe I'll write about some of the strategies, right? I'm not, again, I started my CA journey. It's now called the CPA journey, right? For being an accountant, I worked at KPMG for a bit. I'm not by any means an expert, not at all. I have like 7 months of the 36 months you need to even be a CPA, right? So I'm like by no means an expert. All I've done is a bunch of Googling. So I don't know a lot about anything. But as an investor, I've become well-rounded enough that I have a lot I could share that I don't think it's widely written about. So there's a ton I could share in that sense. Or just like share my story too. That can motivate and help people. Appreciate that, Cheryl. Okay. How do you collect from a guarantor if necessary? Travel cooking, good question. So typically in Canada, the way you'd collect from a guarantor is I would approach the guarantor and say, hey, your son or daughter or whoever didn't pay their rent. And so you now owe me their rent. And often like almost 80% of the time, they'll be like, okay, like with some resistance, they'll often pay it. And because they're guarantor on it, whatever. But the legal way of enforcing that, which is the most annoying way, anytime it goes to a legal battle, the human beings involved in a legal battle are complete shit. Like, if it's gotten to the point where there's a legal battle, you're a shit human being. That's my, like, if you're suing people all the time, like you're involved in lawsuits, you're a shitty human being. That's just like my opinion on lawsuits. I think that like at least one of the persons has got to be a shitty human being, because legal battles only ensue when there's a communication breakdown, right? Or when people are being unreasonable or irrational, aka shitty human beings. So that only happens in the bad situations, right? But those happen. And when they happen, you take them to small claims court and you say, hey, they guaranteed the lease, here's their signature, here's their ID, they owe me $2,000, and you'll win in court. And you'll often get your court costs, you get your damages, etc. and so forth. I know lots of people who have done that. I've been burned for 10 grand and 5 grand before and 6 grand before. And in those times, I haven't gone after the person, even though I had a guarantor in one case, because I knew the guarantor didn't have enough money to pay it. And I wasn't interested in a 2-year legal battle. So I've written off those kinds of money. I have one example where I'm going to go after someone in small claims court, and that's because a tenant has like purposely not paid rent for like 8 months, and the system right now in Ontario is broken. I will go after them. I will garnish their wages. I want them to pay out of principal. I want to make sure that they can never, I want to destroy their credit so they can never do this to someone else. And that's the only time I ever go after someone legally. I just don't like court, and there's so much legal fees associated with hiring lawyers and things like that, and I'm not going to represent myself. Too much work. So yeah, that's my thoughts. How do you estimate ARV? How should a noob estimate ARV and rents to figure out how good a deal is? The short answer is there are 3 ways to value a property. Check out my video I did on that, how to get a rockstar appraisal. I did that, one of my first videos ever. It was a solid video on the 3 appraisal methods. The income approach, using net operating income to value a property using cap rates. Second way is comparable properties. So what has sold in the area? Those are your comps. What is selling tells you what a property is worth. You find similar comparable properties, you adjust them to make them the same, and that is basically your way of value. So yeah. In the US, that stuff's publicly available, but yeah, your agent would have to pull comps for you. I'm an agent myself, so I can pull the comps. There are ways to get comps here in Ontario. If you already own a property, you can use the MPAC My Property login system to see up to 100 properties per year. So it's a way to kind of see comps here in Ontario, pro tip, without an agent. What do you think of the Alberta economy? I'm thinking to invest in a dwelling unit. Dan, I don't much care for Alberta. I think it's too tied to natural resources such as oil. I don't like economies that are that attached to that resource. So yeah. William says, smash the like button. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate the content tonight. Yeah, smash the like button, guys. It means a lot if you smash the like button. And if you enjoyed this video, this whole hour of my time I just gave to you all for free, please let me know in the comments that you're watching the replay and that you enjoyed it and that you appreciate it. It means a lot to me that you appreciate it, because otherwise, why am I doing it if no one cares? So let me know that you care. That way I know that I'm not wasting my valuable time. As always, the secret to unlocking a wealthier you is 3 levers. You got to spend less, earn more, and then maximize the returns on the difference.
So guys, who wants to see Mike do a push-up? Yeah.
No one wants to see me do a
It's
push-up.
been a while, buddy.
Yeah, maybe next time.
Don't break any wires.
Wait till the gym gets up and running. So your agent gives you comps? Yes. About My Property just gives you MPAC value sales data. There you go. Exactly. So you'd have to know the types of properties in that area. It doesn't, well, no, you get a little report with about your property. It'll often say the square footage of the property. It'll give you a lot of details in there. That's very similar to Geo Warehouse to what we have. I have a little bit more data as a realtor, but very similar. You can see number of beds, number of baths, number of stories. I used that for my comps for a long time. That was my way of getting value. But then eventually I got to know just like sales in the area, and I knew value that way. But yeah, comp approach and income approach are the 2 best ways. The 3rd way is the cost approach, which I never talk about because it's not my favorite way to value property. I don't think anyone really uses that. Most appraisers don't use that. So Kids College Life says you're awesome, Mike. Thank you for sharing. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it a lot. Harriet, the About My Property does have sales data. So you can see all the ones in purple. You can click on them, and you can, when you log in there in the map feature, you can see up to a year ago, you definitely could see what has sold and what it sold for and when it sold last in the last 4 or 5 years. So definitely does have the data, or it did, a year ago. I think it's still, I've been a realtor for like a year, so I haven't had a chance to use it, but I used to use that before. I believe it's not changed materially. You get 100 clicks per year. They can reset it once if you call in. So you get 1 login per property. I had like 10 properties, so I get hundreds of comps, no problem. So it was never an issue for me. The data really wasn't a reason why I got my realtor license. It was to save commission and have access to things quicker. And it gave me a bit more clout when I was talking to investors. They know I'm a real estate agent. I have my own brokerage. It gives me a bit of authority when it comes to dealing with stuff. So anyway, makes me, I guess, positioned as an expert, right? I was an expert before. I'm just as much of an expert now. But anyway, it's just another edge to have as an agent. You have some additional tools in the toolbox. So do I find London is too expensive? It depends. There are still pockets where I'm buying. I'm going to be buying more this year still in London, but there's a lot of overpriced garbage in London. So be careful on the MLS. I'm not. I think St. Thomas is overpriced as well. There are opportunities to buy there, and there are a number of reasons why I would invest there, but that's that. I gotta let the stream go. Thank you all for watching so much. I will see you. It's been over an hour. I will see you next time. It's over 9 o'clock. I gotta get some food. So good night, everyone, and I'll see you on the next live stream, probably next Wednesday. And if you're in the Florida, Orlando area, or you know a wholesaler or realtor in that area, DM me on Instagram at Mike Rosehart, MikeRoshart. Bye, everyone.